Thanks for joining us again. We focus today on the latest news that pushed Tesla's stock price up something like between $6 and $10. That there's been a deal between Ford and Tesla to allow, starting the beginning of 2024, Ford vehicles to be able to charge at Tesla charging stations. So I want to call this show Brilliant Amnesia because Elon keeps announcing these deals and they never happen. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show and would like more information on better investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So I have to say, this is one of my head scratching shows. So as you know, Tesla has, I guess what I'm told is, about an equal number of chargers to ChargePoint, which is the second largest entity, it used to be anyway, domestically in the United States. And so there's this phenomenon where Ford, GM, etc., all these other companies have to determine, do we sign on with ChargePoint? Do we try to get on Tesla's network? Or do we build our own network to compete with Tesla and others as we enter the EV space heavily for vehicles? So I have to say that after this was announced, I've been extremely confused until a data point really popped up. And I'm calling this show Brilliant Amnesia as a result, in favor of Elon Musk and Tesla. So if you watch CNBC, there's a story in which the former head of Ford, along with a larger investor in Tesla, relate the fact that with Tesla agreeing to allow Ford onto its network next year, this is actually a really great deal for Ford because now they get the best charging network out there, and they're the second largest seller of EVs behind Tesla, and they grow into the future effectively in this process. What does Tesla get out of this? Well, the statement is that Tesla actually gets fees related to those folks getting charging at Tesla facilities, which is actually really good. The reason why I've been scratching my head on this whole thing is that one of the competitive advantages that has caused a lot of consumers moving over to EVs to focus on Tesla exclusively is the charging network. And so what I was stunned by is that Elon would give up that competitive advantage for a paltry sum related to number of people, number of dollars they would get from charging. And the reason I was confused on this is that if more people can go to Ford to get their charging done, there's less reason for them to buy a Tesla. And I believe Tesla makes more money selling incrementally more cars than they do selling charging facilities over time to competing vehicles. So I was kind of trying to figure out, well, what's going on here and why is Elon doing this? Another data point is that Elon actually had, there was a story a year and a half ago where Elon was quizzed regarding how the charging networks are working and why there are delays for consumers. And what Elon indicated is that for most of the week, the charging facilities available run adequately, no problem. But if we take a look at how charging works in what's called the I-5 corridor between Los Angeles and San Francisco, what Elon pointed out is you go from less than an hour worth of time before you can charge to 3 and 4 hour charge waiting times along that freeway, because when traffic is heavy on a Friday night or on a Sunday night, everybody's trying to charge at the same time. You have a disaster where everybody shows up at the same time. You don't have enough charging spaces. So what I was wondering about was, now wait a second, if you don't have enough charging spaces on peak times like this, how is adding Ford to your charging going to work when you can't even service the people you already have effectively? In fact, the Ford CEO made a quip where he said, it's going to be real interesting when a Cybertruck pulls up behind an F-150 and is waiting behind an F-150 to get to a Tesla charging facility is going to be a real interesting sort of pissed off Tesla customer in that case. So I have to admit that the question that was posed was brillante, and I'm now coming up with an interesting solution of how this might end up working out. First, as you know, Tesla's building more charging facilities, which is true, but they're also growing the number of vehicles that they have on the road, which are going to need those charging facilities already there. So if you go back and look in 2021, Elon actually issued a tweet that said by the end of 2021, Tesla would begin the process of now opening up its charging facilities to other manufacturers. So I just thought that was really interesting because he actually said that. Now, when he tweeted that, he didn't describe any contracts being signed. He just indicated that those facilities would be opened up by the end of 2021. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. So the question is, why did it not happen? And the answer I'm coming up with is Elon seems to make the same announcement every year around the same time. And so what this suggests then is that every year Elon seems to get amnesia about what exactly he said the year before or 2 years before about when something is going to happen. And that amnesia facilitates an interesting outcome, which is number 1, 2, and 3 is that if all those manufacturers are confident they'll be able to get on Tesla or another network, they don't have to worry about building dedicated facilities, and they save the cost of doing so. Yeah, that is definitely the case. But what if all those manufacturers are delayed in their construction, finding and constructing facilities by having the charge point option or having the Tesla option, as Ford theoretically will, and now their customers are inconvenienced until this deal kicks in. This also brings up the question of, well, if this deal really has been negotiated for the last 2 years by Ford, why aren't they just coming up with the new charging port for Tesla to be put over the top of the Ford chargers, and this would be initiated in the next 2 or 3 months? And there's no answer to that one. There's just the fact that we're looking at the start of next year. Now, obviously, there'll be more spaces built, but I don't think that's the answer because there'll also be more Tesla cars on the road. They're going to need those charging facilities. So the question is, what's going on here? Well, I kind of feel like this is somewhat business genius on the part of Tesla. By setting up a deal and getting everybody's hopes up about having Tesla charging facilities, competitors are not building their own facilities, while at the same time you're expanding your network, validating people choosing to buy Teslas instead of all these companies that don't have their charging facilities. Now, the one last piece here I wanted to review is just the fact that, there's this interesting challenge that's been happening with people trying to drive EVs, which is going to all these facilities that are not working under charge point, or as different types of vehicles arrive, it could be slow or fast charging. It's very unpredictable. And this has advantaged Tesla as all those reviews get out there and people realize their best solution from a charging standpoint is Tesla, and it remains a competitive advantage. So my argument is that it's great that Tesla stock price is up as it is, but I'm arguing that for some strange reason, I think when Ford is supposed to start charging on Teslas, in theory, we could end up with a delay. Maybe 6 months, it may be a year, or it may be 2 years. We don't know yet. But I'm expecting that Elon/Tesla enjoys the competitive advantage of that large network that's been built, and they get paid when Ford sells less SUVs or less EVs because there are those tax credits to think about as well. So we look forward to your comments on this. I was initially thinking this really sucks for Tesla investors because you're giving up sales to pick up some charging, but the longer the amnesia problem happens for Tesla relative to, delivering on this charging capability, the more money and the stronger Tesla is in the situation. We also have the possibility that there could be limited charging facilities available for Ford versus the entire network, which is what Ford thinks they're going to be getting. But we have to see what he actually does. And I think it's kind of brilliant because it puts all the manufacturers at a competitive disadvantage of having to use the same facilities that are clogged, that don't always work properly, that don't have optimized electricity for their particular vehicles. So we definitely look forward to your comments on this. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Wanted to also remind you, prior to lovemaking, don't forget to eat a salad or something very light prior. It'll enhance the blood flow to other extremities for a more pleasant experience. Thanks for joining us. Arrivederci. And in Jamaica we say enough respect, walk good man. Thanks and have a great day, and bye for now.